there is no wealth equal to cattle, but the Buddha says there is no wealth equal to grain. Maybe because grain, you can, I'm not sure why, you can grow, you can sell, you can fill your stomach, everything. There's no light like wisdom. The Deva says there's no light like the sun. The sun is so bright, but the Buddha says there's no light like wisdom. Because people like the Buddha, when they are enlightened, their light shine forth from their head. And this light can illuminate many, many world systems. But ordinary beings cannot see. And then among the waters, the rain is supreme. When the rain comes, it gives life. Actually, in the Sutta, the Buddha says, life depends on water. See? Only now scientists know that actually, like they send a spacecraft to Mars and anywhere, they want to look for water. If there's any source of water, then they know that at one time there was life. So the Buddha, so long ago, 2,500 years ago, the Buddha already knew that. Now only scientists know. The 14th Sutta. The Katya or warrior is the best of bipeds, two-legged beings. The ox, the best of quadrupeds. A maiden is the best of wives. The firstborn, the best of sons. And the Buddha said, the Buddha is the best of bipeds, a steed, the best of quadrupeds. An obedient woman is the best of wives. A dutiful son, the best of sons. Here, this Deva says the noble caste or the warrior is the best of two-footed beings. But the Buddha says the best of two-footed beings is the Buddha, the awakened one, the enlightened one. And then the Deva says the ox is the best of four-footed beings. The Buddha says the steed, a good horse, is the best of quadrupeds. And then the Deva says a maiden is the best of wives. In other words, a young wife. But the Buddha says obedient woman is the best of wives. And then the Deva says the firstborn is the best of sons. But the Buddha says a dutiful boy or obedient son is the best of sons. Some people, they have many children, but when they are old, not one of the children want to look after them. But you have a good son or a good daughter, one is enough when you grow old. That obedient son or daughter will look after you. The 15th Sutta. When the noon hour sets in and the birds have settled down, the mighty forest itself murmurs. How fearful that appears to me, the Deva said. And the Buddha said, when the noon hour sets in and the birds have settled down, the mighty forest itself murmurs. How delightful that appears to me. So here the Deva is saying in the noon, around noon time, all the birds have quietened down and the forest is so quiet and still. He finds that fearful. But the Buddha says at that time the Buddha finds it so delightful because it's so peaceful. Nobody to disturb his meditation, his bliss, his peace. 1.16, the Deva said, drowsiness, lethargy, lazy stretching, discontent, torpor after meals. Because of this, here among beings, the noble path does not appear. And the Buddha said, drowsiness, lethargy, lazy stretching, discontent, torpor after meals. When one dispels this with energy, the noble path is cleared. So here the Deva must have seen some monks after eating a lot, they are very drowsy, the mind is lethargic, lazy, not inclined to motion, and torpor, sloth and torpor after meals. So because of that now, eating too much, this monk does not see the noble path. But the Buddha says, if the monk is energetic, puts in a lot of effort, then all the drowsiness, lethargy, torpor, etc. will clear away. And then he sees the noble path clearly. 17th Sutta. The ascetic life is hard to practice. and hard for the inept or unskillful to endure. How many are the obstructions there in which the fool found us? How many days can one practice the ascetic life if one does not rein in one's mind? One would founder with each step, under control of one's intentions. And I think the Buddha replied, drawing in the mind's thoughts as a tortoise draws its limbs into its shell, independent, not harassing others, fully quenched, a bhikkhu would not blame anyone. So the Deva is saying that a monk who is unskillful will find the ascetic life, the holy life, very hard to practice. And there are many obstructions for him. For him to founder means to fail, to fall down. But the Buddha says that the monk should draw in the thoughts, just like a tortoise draws its limbs into its shell, and then he can be fully quenched. The 18th Sutta, the Deva says, is there a person somewhere in the world who is restrained by a sense of shame, one who draws back from blame, as a good horse does from the whip? And the Buddha says, few are those restrained by a sense of shame, who fare always mindful. Few, having reached the end of suffering, fare evenly amidst the uneven. So the Deva is asking whether there's someone who has a sense of shame. And the Buddha says very few who are collected. And then the 19th Sutta, the Deva says, don't you have a little hut? Don't you have a little nest? Don't you have any lines extended? Are you free from bondage? And the Buddha says, surely I have no little hut. Surely I have no little nest. Surely I have no lines extended. Surely I am free from bondage. And the Deva asked, what do you think I call a little hut? What do you think I call a little nest? What do you think I call lines extended? What do you think I call bondage? And the Buddha replied, it's a mother that you call a little hut, a wife that you call a little nest, sons you call lines extended, craving that you tell me is bondage. And the Deva said, it's good that you have no little hut, good that you have no little nest, good that you have no lines extended, good that you are free from bondage. So here the Deva is asking a riddle, asking the Buddha whether he has a hut, nest, lines extended. And then the Buddha says he has none of these. Then the Deva tests him, asks him, do you know what I mean when I say a little hut, a nest and the lines extended? And the Buddha says, yes. The Buddha says a hut refers to the mother. Once a person renounces, he's supposed to renounce a family, so he has no mother, no father, doesn't have a wife, the nest, and doesn't have children, lines extended. Then the Deva praised him. Now we come to the 20th Sutta. But it's a bit long, so maybe tonight I stop here. You don't have any question? You see here in this Samyutta, all the suttas have to do with experiences of the Buddha with these devas. Later, maybe you will come across some other suttas in the same Samyutta where other monks also have experience with these devas. And their experience is stated here. Yeah. I think normally when they say when the night is advanced, means